A crisis in the making.
We'll hit the wormhole in 18 minutes.
Puts the station on a collision course for disaster.
I just saw Q on the promenade.
Q here? All gone. Bring them back, Q. Now!
Is Q up to his old tricks?
My advice to you is to evacuate now.
Or is the destiny of Deep Space Nine even out of his control? On the next exciting episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
There's a bigger issue here. Just because a group of people belong to the Federation, it does not mean that they are saints. The trouble is Earth. On Earth, there is no poverty, no crime, no war. You look out the window of Starfleet headquarters and you see paradise. Well, it's easy to be a saint in paradise. Out there, all the problems haven't been solved yet. Out there are no saints, just people. Angry, scared, determined people who are going to do whatever it takes to survive.
What I want to know is, out of all the stories you told me, which ones were true and which ones weren't?
My dear doctor, they're all true.
Even the lies.
Especially the lies.
On behalf of the Bajoran government
And the Promenade Merchants Association.
I officially welcome you to Deep Space Nine.
Hello, everyone out there in podcast land. Welcome to Especially the Lies, a Deep Space Nine podcast. We're a part of the Front Row Network and NPR Illinois Community Voices, and we're a group of newbies watching Deep Space Nine for the very first time, and some folks who have gone beyond the wormhole and have watched the entire show. We're going to start out talking to us about the episode Q-less, which we will do with a non-spoiler talk, and then after we get our newbies discussion, we'll kick them out and move into spoiler talk. Before we get started, I am Scott, and with me is
Christopher,
Nicole,
Emily,
Shannon,
Prentice,
Jessi.
Before we get started, remember to like, subscribe, follow, click all the buttons except for the down arrow. Don't click that one. Please be sure to join us at our social medias. All the links are down below. We are on all of the social medias that I care to be on, so join those. And then also we have our Patreon where you can join our Discord, and we have a spoiler chat on there, and you can chat spoilers, except for to Nicole, because I blocked her from the channel because she's not allowed in there. She's shaking her head at me.
It's okay, Nicole. I got you. I'll check it out and let you know what's in there.
Thanks, Jessi. Appreciate it. And a big thank you to our producers. Those are our folks who have donated the full amount every single month on our Patreon. We really do appreciate you, and it helps the show grow. And finally, if you can, please leave a review on either Apple, Audible, Spotify, or wherever you're hearing us. But really, Apple is the one that's going to help the most in terms of the algorithm. So if you can leave a review over there, that'd be very helpful. And we have gotten some reviews in already on Apple. So I'm going to read one from Rit Akaba. Rit Akaba? Ritacpba? I don't know. Rit Akaba? And they're from Australia. Hello. It's summer down there. I'm jealous. Okay, they say, need a reason to do a rewatch. If you need a reason to do a rewatch, then there is no better way than to listen to these guys talk about it. They bring new life to the episodes no matter how many times we've watched them. Always entertaining. Thanks from me to all of you who have given a new way to see these episodes. Thank you, Rit Akba. We appreciate it. Shannon, do you have a synopsis for us for Q-less?
Archaeologist Vash arrives from the Gamma Quadrant as Q plagues the station and an unknown force threatens to destroy it.
I'm looking forward to finding out how many of the newbies actually know who the hell Q or Vash is, and we'll discuss that as we go. But let's go over to our newbies and get their first impressions, and let's go to Nicole. First impressions on Q-less.
This was a good episode. It was kind of fun. It's like you love to hate Q. It's like I hated him, but also he was such a rascal. It was kind of entertaining. I didn't really understand what was happening at first. I'm like, is she like having a vision? Is he an alien? Is he a real person? Like, what's happening? And then I kind of figured it out. So it took me a minute to get that. I thought it was really funny how O'Brien was like eavesdropping on Bashir, trying to hit on that girl and just kind of rolling his eyes. Like, I love that guy so freaking much. So that really made me laugh. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a great episode. I wasn't really sure if Vash was like shady or if she wasn't. if Q was the shady one, like who was the shady one? It was kind of like a back and forth. I had a feeling that glowing rock thing was what was causing the issues, the power issues and surges, or that was what was pulling them towards the wormhole. So I was very proud of myself that I was right about something. So that was good. I'm pretty sure we figured out what umoks are. That was horrifying. I thought this was probably the most playful episode we've seen so far. So yeah, I liked it.
For those who did not listen to our episode last week, we discussed when the newbies are going to learn what umoks is. I didn't realize it's actually the next episode. I thought we had a few episodes to go, but here we are. Christopher, first impressions.
My first impression was I thought I was going to hate this episode just based off the title alone. Having watched TNG, I hate Q. If my first experience watching Star Trek had been Encounter at Farpoint, I would not be here on this podcast with you. That is how much I hate him. That being said, I enjoyed this episode immensely. I was really surprised. It has had my favorite scene in the series so far, and two of the characters that I have not particularly cared for redeemed themselves in this episode.
Jessi, how about yourself? First impressions.
So it was fine. It was we've been cruising right along. I'm like, oh, this is so amazing. I love it. This one was okay. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. But if I never have to see a Ferengi get his fingers or his ears fingered again, I will be more than okay with my life.
You know what's going to happen a lot in this show?
Ear fingering, wonderful. And then there was another one of the guys buying shit. Colos, Colos. Anyway,
Sure.
he looks
you,
like
you paid attention more than I did. Congrats.
he looked like a walking just the tip type, like. I don't know how else to explain it. He looked like a dick. Like his head looked like just the tip of a dick.
The tip of a dick. Oh my God, that is so accurate.
Sorry. So
Glad I am joining this podcast.
This is the high quality podcast.
so glad I
you've
could
come
add
to know
such value to this podcast. I couldn't unsee it. Every time I saw it, I'm like, wow, just the tip. That's what I called him the whole damn episode. I don't think it was one of my more favorite ones, but I didn't even have to take a nap. So we're doing good so far.
Excellent. On a scale of 1 to 10, it was a no nap episode.
It was a no nap
like it.
episode. We're good.
Okay, Shannon, how about yourself? First impressions.
Well, to be honest, when I first started watching this, I wasn't really paying attention, but like it did kind of suck me in. And I still abide by my thoughts that the doctor has puppy eyes and he plays it very well. I enjoyed him watching him attempting to flirt. And I was wondering, who the hell is Q? Who is this douche? Am I supposed to know him? And I was like really confused for a bit, but I also didn't expect the ear stuff. And I'd like to talk about what exactly umoks means.
No, you don't.
You know exactly what it means, and you know exactly what it was. And by the way, it wasn't fingering.
I also want to know what Odo really was. Was he the chair, the table, or the wine bottle?
He wasn't going to tell Quark because then Quark would know.
I know, but I want to know.
So before we get to the old bees, we'll go ahead and do a little refresher for the newbies. I know Christopher has watched TNG, and as he's already said, Q is his favorite character. But this was another episode of crossover. So the Q is a very popular character in TNG. He was actually in the pilot episode. Depending on what you like about TNG, he is either one of your favorite characters or one of your least favorite characters. Vash was an archaeologist who was in 2 episodes of TNG, one with Q, and that's the episode where they went off together to explore the galaxy. And as we find out here, they've been gone for 2 years. And the other episode, she tried to get with Picard. And I think she did get with Picard, I think.
Oh, she succeeded.
It definitely sounded like it from this episode.
Yeah. So that's really it. I mean, there's a lot more Q discussion to be had, but that's a different show. We actually had a conversation of if we were going to make you guys watch TNG episodes to catch up. But my opinion is if you were watching Deep Space Nine for the first time and had never watched TNG, this is what you get. This is the explanation you get. And when I get to my first impression, I'll discuss about how I feel about that. But let's go to Prentice first. First impressions.
You know what? I don't know if I can top Jessi. I like the character of Vash. She's always been interesting. This was a standard crossover episode. I appreciate it for what it was. So for that kind of one-off, I think it was decent. It was good. But other than that, I think it was like a mid-tier episode.
Yeah. Emily, first impression.
I always like this episode just because Cisco punches Q, and I feel like he deserved it multiple times in TNG. I do not like Vash. She gets on my nerves. She always has. I find her just very irritating, and I can't always pinpoint why. But I had forgotten about the scene where O'Brien is eavesdropping on Bashir while he's trying to impress that woman, and that look on his face. And I'm like, we are all O'Brien at this moment right now because, yeah, it is so fucking cringy. I forgot how uncomfortable it is to watch that scene. So
I went back and actually watched the scene twice. Once watching the scene and once just watching O'Brien the whole time.
His facial expressions are just fantastic.
So you're feeling me is what I'm hearing. He's not that great at the flirting.
No.
The O'Brien face after that is amazing. It was maybe my best part of the episode is his face after that flirting scene.
This episode, I call it Everyone's Horny for Vash, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
She has very pretty eyes.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, for my first impression, couple things is I think this is one of the weakest episodes of season 1. I'm actually a big Q fan. I think when he is more of the godlike trying to make humans understand themselves better, like Tapestry, Q Who, I think he's great. I actually think he was the only redeeming factor of Picard season 2 for those who have watched Picard season 2. In this, he's not that. He is the mischievous Loki. And in fact, he's not even that. Even John Delancey, when talking about this episode, said, I didn't like the episode because Q was just a skirt chaser. He wasn't there to do anything but to get with Vash. And that's not who Q is. And I completely agree with that. And actually, it makes sense. This episode was written by Robert Hewitt-Wolf, who will write a lot of episodes of DS9, some of the best episodes of DS Space Nine. But when he was given this episode to rewrite, it was an episode just with Vash. There was no Q. And then Michael Piller, the co-creator of the show, said, well, if you're going to bring Vash into it, you might as well bring Q because we know she's with him. And you can tell that Q was an afterthought the entire time because it was not meant to be in the script. So I'm not a fan of this episode. I do think there's some really fun little bits in there. I think we get to learn more about Quark. I think we get to learn more about Bashir and O'Brien, but this episode it's almost like the Q and Vash show with our characters as guest stars. And when you're only 6 episodes in, that's not good. That's not good at all.
That's kind of the biggest problem I've had with like the series so far is that they're trying to get the crossover fan base from TNG. That I felt that so far there's only been like 1 or 2 episodes that's really been like a DS9 episode, and everything else has been kind of, well, this is going to be O'Brien centric because we're trying to get the TNG fan base, and they're bringing in other characters from TNG to try to bring that fan base over. And I am just waiting to get into the meat of the show because that's what I'm here for.
I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with some episodes in season 1, and some episodes in season 1 you're going to roll your eyes at. So here we are. Prentice, what do you got?
You know what? I'm going to say this is borderline a O'Brien must suffer episode because the way Q just dismissed him. When he called him out and said, I know you from the Enterprise, like, yeah, you one of the little people, right? Get out my face. I was like, wow, that was so dismissive and petty. So I just wanted to call that out, that it was a borderline O'Brien must suffer episode.
That was one of the quotes that I wrote down, was that.
You were one of the little people?
Yeah.
Fun story, much like, and Jessi is going to glaze over here for a second, much like Chekhov and the Wrath of Khan, O'Brien never met Q in TNG, ever. Shannon, what do you got?
Actually, he just said he'd heard about Q in a briefing, so I did think that was interesting.
That was Cisco who heard about it.
I was just going to say that, like, to me, as someone that has not watched the other Star Trek shows, I felt like I was watching a moment that should mean something to me, but it didn't. And like Emily even said, like, oh my God, someone finally punched this guy. I was like, I don't even know who this guy is. Who the fuck is this douche? He disappears and does all this stuff. And then like the whole captain fight thing was weird in the first place to me. So as a newbie, I was lost. And I was like, what am I missing? And I didn't like that. I mean, I went with it, but I didn't like it.
I will say that I think this is the writers making Cisco not be Picard. And we've already kind of saw that with Emissary and how they don't actually like each other. Well, Cisco doesn't like Picard.
He literally literally said, "I am not Picard" in this episode.
Well, then he punched him, which Picard would never do.
And it was my favorite part of the episode.
But that didn't mean as much to me as it could have.
It was just stupid. You're intelligent. You've been briefed on this being a demigod and all this stuff, and you get into a fist fight. It made no sense. I know they, like you're saying, they were trying to get him to seem more active than Picard, but it to me made the character seem stupid.
See, I would disagree with you on that, sir, because I love the fact that Sisko punched a god. I just think that's awesome.
Well, that, and I mean, it wasn't that, you know, Sisko was looking for the fight, right? I mean, he took 2 or 3 punches before he responded, and it was Q who instigated the whole thing, you know, trying to get him to respond. And it was so satisfying to see Q just punched. I loved it. It is turning me around on Sisko, because that was...
I thought you were going to say it's turning me on. I'm sorry.
Oh, wow.
I thought that's where it was going too, and I was
saw
going to be
Emily's
like, I mean,
face. I
same.
knew she was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, it was kind of hot, but you know.
Avery Brooks does not have a glass jaw. We found that out.
And Q does. Because 1 punch and he was down, and it was great. When he said, "But Picard would never punch me." Well, I'm not Picard. And that's like the delineation and like the separation from the show that I've kind of been looking for.
But what frustrates me about this one, Christopher, is that I agree with you. That's the juxtaposition they're trying to go for. But then Sisko has literally, to Prentice's point, Sisko has literally nothing to do with this episode.
That's my problem as well with the whole thing, is that they're so reliant on the characters from TNG, and we're not getting to learn about the characters who are actually in the damn show.
Well, come on. We know Bashir is horny. We've come to that conclusion.
Yeah, but what does everybody remember from that scene? That O'Brien was giving him the side eye.
Nicole, what do you got?
I don't know the significance of Q, so I didn't realize what a good thing that was. But now hearing the backstory a little bit and just his shenanigans on this episode, I thought it was also very satisfying, and I very much enjoyed that. I did think it was a little bit of a reminder that Sisko is his own person, and I liked that.
Yes, Sisko is a badass. That is a given. Yeah. Jessi, what do you got?
2 things. If you go to the Discord non-spoilers one, Caravel, sorry, my bad, homie. I don't know what your name is. He or she, again, don't know. I'm doing great. That person posted a Honest Trailers TNG version, and I let Christopher be the guinea pig because he watched it first and said it was good. So I trusted him until I got to the part where Q was, and I freaked out and turned it off because I thought that it would be a spoiler. I think that you can go there and kind of get the gist of like TNG. And then my second point, that speaking of the scene where he all of a sudden ends up alone with this guy, that's like terrifying to me, because I was like, holy shit, who's he gonna click? He tried to call security, and then he's like, nope, it's off. And I'm like, what the fuck are you gonna do now, dude? Like, you're about to get your ass kicked by this really creepy man. And all of a sudden they were in a boxing ring, so it wasn't weird at all.
That's Q in a nutshell. Prentice.
Just some behind the scenes stories about the boxing match. Apparently, when he said to him initially, "Oh, what you're gonna do to me? You're gonna thrash me?" And in one offline, he said they were playing around. He said, "What are you gonna do? Ravish me?" The cat started to laugh, said, "What?" And then Avery Brooks replied. He said, "I just might." And everyone just started this, "Oh wow."
Oh my God.
So that whole fight scene has a whole story behind it that is crazy fun.
I love that.
Yeah, that's great. So not only is Avery Brooks a badass, but he's funny.
Yeah. And as I've already made the joke, and we haven't gotten to the episode yet, but he likes to point out he went to Juilliard. And so when he has to do some of the stupid shit on the show, he, just wait and see. But yeah, I mean, it's
Sorry.
Go ahead, Jessi.
Do they have
go ahead.
bloopers?
Yeah, I'm sure they do. I can go out and find some too.
That'd be
But
fun.
Yeah. Anybody else?
No.
Cool. Yeah, I think one of the other reasons why I'm just not a fan of this episode is, again, like Christopher and like Prentice, shoehorning Q in here doesn't make sense to me, but also not much happens. I mean, Shannon or Nicole, you pointed out that you figured out what the glowy crystal thing was, but it took our heroes the entire episode to figure it out. I mean, Vash shows up and she has a power drain, and then the station has a power drain. Well, then it was definitely Vash or somebody else on that shuttle who brought the power drain on board, but we're still going to search the entire station for it. It's just
fill it with a toxic chemical gas.
Yes.
Give everybody cancer and kill them in 4 years.
Nicole?
Can we talk about Vash? Because I'm still on the
Oh.
fence about her. Like, is she shady? Is she not? I have moments where she seems shady and then she seems like she's not. And I don't know who the shady one is, her or Q.
Both.
And then I'm like, well, Q's
Q.
definitely shady.
Yeah. So you would get more understanding of Vash if you watched 2 other episodes of TNG. And if you wanted to go and watch them, they're called Captain's Holiday and Cupid. And Cupid is literally everyone in tights in Sherwood
Oh.
Forest, which
Yeah, it's a
was
Robin
called
Hood.
out again in this.
Oh, they said Sherwood Forest. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was literally the episode.
Well,
But go ahead.
I say she is very manipulative. That's clear. She even said that she's all about the profit. She doesn't care about the artifacts. Like you said that she's setting civilization back 200 years and she's evil and all this. But I'm like, well, I don't know if she's evil, but I think she's an opportunist to make money. And I think that like she doesn't give a shit about anyone or anything but the almighty dollar. That's kind of what I kind of came to at the end of the episode. Like when she was like, I'm going to go back to Earth and live a normal life. And then she's like, all right, send me to that place to go do that research or whatever. Throughout the whole episode, I was having a hard time figuring her out until the very end.
The best description I've ever heard of Vash is there's a guy on YouTube called Lore Runner who does all reviews of Star Trek and everything else too. And he said that she's a mercenary archaeologist. She is basically Indiana Jones, except for she doesn't care about the museum. She cares about the money and the adventure. That's it.
You just stole my line because I was going to say she's Indiana Jones, but she's not going to yell, but it belongs in the museum.
It belongs in my pocket.
Right. She's Indiana Jones, but dressed like Laura Croft.
But not even in her pocket. She doesn't want to keep it for her own collection.
No, yeah.
She wants to sell it for profit to do whatever she wants to do, which apparently might be learn how to do very good central ear massages.
That was a jacking off of the ears. I'm just going to throw it out there. It was not a massage. It was not a fingering.
Fingering. It was she was fingering his ears, whether you call it jacking off or not.
I'm calling it a massage.
It's fingering.
The Ferengi's ears are their erogenous zone.
I could live my whole life and not known that. Thank you very much.
Just watching that scene, you couldn't have figured that out. It's just like
Shut up, Christopher.
like
the
way
last
his-
episode, you went the entire episode plus the entire podcast before you figured out what happened. Don't talk to me.
Who was the guy in the cloak?
We talked about Scooby-Doo, and Chris is like, "Oh wait, be nice to me,
Jessi,
sir."
would you like to continue making fun of Christopher?
What the fuck are we talking about here? I have no idea, honestly. When she was looking at the coffin shaped thing, the locker to put her stuff in, like the vault, I thought she was gonna put herself in there. Like I was like, how? I mean, okay, so there's got to be a keypad or something on the inside, and it took me about 5 seconds. I was like, oh, thank you. It is not her, it's her stuff. But I got from her like super shady. Like she's all about profit. She sells shit that doesn't belong to her. She's been in trouble for selling what they say artificial or illegal artifacts.
Stolen, yeah.
Stolen artifacts, which means they don't belong to her. So as I'm watching this, I'm watching a bunch of people buying shit that they shouldn't be buying. I didn't really care for her at all.
What did Quark say? He got the stupid and the rich to show up.
Yeah, they're very rich and not very
They're
intelligent.
the same people.
And then she had those fucking earring necklace thing on. No, ma'am, take it off. It's ugly. I hate it.
I didn't necessarily hate it, but I totally noticed because when they put it in the inventory, they're like a necklace. And then when she wore it later as earrings that went down as a necklace, I was like, this is a totally different animal.
It was, I didn't, I loved it. Other people thought it was not horrible, but it was hideous. And so was Q's little fucking earring thing that he had on.
Well, he only
that's
did that
that's a
when he was
Bajoran thing.
disguised. When he also had the crimped nose, like he had because he was
Well, I will not shame other races, other aliens.
No, I was just saying he was doing the whole thing with the crimped nose.
Yeah.
No. If that's a Bajoran thing, like, hey, I'm not gonna knock your nationality, but like, I wouldn't wear it. So there's that.
The one thing I like about the auction scene is we get to learn more about Quark and the fact that he is not just a bartender. He's much more than that. He seems to know people and he seems to know how to get things done. And I do love the fact that Vash is like explaining everything about this artifact and Quark's like, no. We just need to tell them it's expensive and it's rare. That's all we have to do.
But he's a terrible auctioneer.
Well, he was getting very excited when they were in the hundreds. He was getting his own little umox going at that point.
When Vash was doing that to him, she should have kept going. She might have been able to have him pay for her the privilege to auction them off.
She stopped at 22%. I'm like, what? What are you doing?
Yeah, that was a bad choice on her part. She could have gotten more.
She's a prostitute, Christopher. If that's what you're talking about, that's called prostitution. Taking money in return for sexual acts or favors. I don't know. Moving on.
Now, the PC word for that is sex worker. Sex worker.
You know what? I'm so sorry. I'm not shaming sex workers. That would make her a sex worker.
But I do believe this may answer a question that some of you had from an episode prior where, like, what's in that court contract? I'm pretty sure stroking his lobes is in that contract.
Oh, no. No, motherfucker. Absolutely. I will beat your ass before I stroke your ears. Oh, God, it just makes my skin crawl. I can't. Okay.
The other fun part about this episode that actually I think is done well is the scene with Vash and Q in her quarters, and she's just trying to unpack, and he makes it impossible for her to unpack. The backstory of that, Michael Piller, again, co-creator of the show and showrunner at this point, used to challenge the writers. And the challenge for this episode was, I want a scene in Vash's quarters and see how long you can make it go. That was the challenge. And so Robert Hewitt Wolf wrote the scene where we have the back and forth with the unpacking, then we have Bashir come in, and then we have everyone else come in too. So that whole scene took forever because they were just screwing around. They were just having fun as writers. Jessi?
Okay. Ignore the part where it says just the tip, because that's exactly what I wrote after here. It says Q is a DVer. I don't like that man. Like, I straight up got domestic violence vibes from him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He just absolutely mentally, emotionally, and physically tormented her. And then he turned her into an old lady, and she was clearly struggling. And I was having a little bit of a hard time watching it because I was like, God damn, he's like all but beating her right now. And clearly she like got out of it in a couple seconds, but it's not okay to hit people even if it's only a couple seconds. So that's what I was getting from him. I just didn't like him from the jump.
And I think that's why Delancey didn't like this episode, is because that's not Q. Q's an asshole, and he will do things to you that are just terrible because he is a god, but he's not that. And the creepiest one for me, Jessi, was when she's standing there and he gets up behind her and whispers in her ear. Like, that is creepy as shit.
Yeah, I can show her a move that would just fucking knock him on his ass.
Or Cisco could.
Yeah, that's true.
Shannon?
I was just going to say that I agree. As someone that had not encountered Q in my memory, I thought he was very controlling and creepy. And the first thing I did, I was making note. I said, who is this douchebag? And then I was like, who is Q? And then I'm making notes. Okay, somehow he can disappear. Somehow he can make people go to sleep. Like, what alien race is his? He knows everything. And I was just like, everything about this is toxic. And the more the show went on, the more I was proven right. I thought he was pretty disturbing. They called him a menace, and I don't think that's strong enough.
See, and the ironic thing is, the week after this episode aired for Deep Space Nine, that next week on The Next Generation was the episode Tapestry, which I think is one of the best episodes of TNG, and it has Q in it. And it's just ironic that those two episodes hit like they did. But with Tapestry, long story short, Captain Picard, who we've met, is stabbed in the heart and is dying. And he actually already, we learned that he had an artificial heart put in when he got into a bar fight when he was a younger cadet. And he tells Q as he's dying that he wants to go back and stop that bar fight from happening so he can continue on with his life. And Q lets him do it, knowing that he will learn. It's kind of like A Wonderful Life is what it is. He learns that that bar fight made him into the person that he is. So Q is trying to help him and be his guardian angel. And that's what Q is really good at. So if you want a good Q episode, watch Tapestry. If you want a bad Q episode, watch this one.
Spoiler alert. Shit. Maybe I wanted to watch it.
We're never watching TNG, so it's fine.
Maybe you've watched it. Maybe I want to watch it. Fine. Now I know what happens. I'm not gonna.
Start in season 3.
Not starting at any season. Listen, no, you know me better than that. I'm just fucking talking shit.
Blake did say he wants to watch Matter of Honor. So was that the episode Matter of Honor?
Yeah.
Code of Honor. Code of Honor.
Oh.
Yeah.
The bad one.
The bad one. Yes.
The bad one.
The Gene Roddenberry had a say in this one, and you can tell.
Why do you guys
Okay.
hate me? I'm a very nice person. I'm a fucking delight. And you guys are very mean to me.
No, we just like your opinion on stuff because you are very passionate about certain things. But I did actually like, because I take notes more about what I expect from the newbies. And my question was, how long does it take Jessi to hate Vash?
Oh, it was like 5.5 seconds before I was like, yep, she's not for me. Thank you. And it's not because she's a sex worker.
I actually like Vash, and more
Why?
so in TNG because she's a foil to Picard. Really, she's
I think she's a bad foil to him. I don't get it. Like, you know, I think Cisco even said she doesn't seem to be Picard's type, and O'Brien who
and
said,
that's what makes her his type.
right. But I just I don't know. I couldn't stand her.
Maybe it's the curly, disheveled hair that does it for me. I don't know.
She's got a pulse and boobs, probably, is what does it for you. It's fine. We're just.
She did have good hair, though. I did enjoy her hair.
So did Claudia, and I understood that one.
Shannon,
But
would you like to go next?
She's just a terrible person.
Speaking as another person that has wonderful hair
And pulse and boobs.
and awesome boobs. Thank you, Scott. Thank you for that. Yes, I will say that I didn't hate her at first. I was like, she's a little gold digging archaeologist, but as someone that still like doesn't know what it means in the canon of Star Trek history, that she was involved with Captain Picard, but I knew enough that she was like name dropping, like, me and him had a thing going. Tell him I said hi. Like that was enough to still be like, all right, this girl's been around. Like maybe we should be kind of interested in what she's got going on. And I liked her vibe. I was like, you go, girl, you do you.
But she's basically like the British stealing artifacts from other countries and not even putting them in her own museum, but selling them to the highest bidder. Like she's
but they
not
won't
a
let her
good
back
person.
in the museum. They won't let her back in the whatever consortium that they kept
The
mentioning.
Daystream Institute, which is a callback to TOS and TNG.
Yeah, I thought that too because they mentioned it multiple times. But I mean, I'm not talking about her business sense. I'm talking about her as a woman, like being badass and doing her thing with captains and who what not.
Hey, Christopher, currently we're like number 14 for TV review podcasts in the United Kingdom. So can we ixnay on the British bastards a little bit?
You can't piss everybody off every episode, Christopher. You gotta give
That's
them
his
a break.
goal.
It's like the sci-fi version of National Treasure. She just steals shit and sells it to other people's museums. I don't like it because
I don't like it.
I don't like it. I don't like it because I'm not a huge fan of the whole continued, overused storyline of a woman who sleeps with this person, that person, this person. It just drives me nuts. Like, what did you called her? What? What did you call her? The what, Picard?
The foil to Picard.
The foil. Oh, the foil to Picard. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
So my whole point is moot.
Pretty
and
sure
I'm gonna
Prentice
move on.
called her a sex worker, so that's fine.
I call her prostitute unfairly, clearly, and Prentice just helped me be a little bit more politically correct. But Christopher's face, the just stress that you just caused, Christopher, when you said that, it made my whole night. So ignore my point because I thought you called her the foiled Picard, like she was supposed to be like Picard, but then she slept with a bunch of people and like they were not going to let her be. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
no.
would call her the village bicycle. Wow, this is gonna create.
Jesus. God damn.
That's what my coworker said one time when we were in the car. He's like, it's like the village donkey. Everybody gets a ride. I said, what? What did you just say? I don't. Yep. We're going to move on and act like you never said that.
Wow. So, Bash is a perfect Ferengi woman. I'll just say that so we can move away from the other conversation. But I wanted her and Quark to get together. I was like, they're a match made in heaven.
Oh, agreed. I really like Quark a lot, like a lot. And I'm hoping that this is not another Londo, right? Like I loved Londo in the first season. And I loved Londo throughout all of the seasons, but I did not love Londo's character because he was a giant jackass. And so like he did some really terrible things and I could never really get over it. Everybody else seemed to embrace him and hug him and say, it's okay, you killed millions of people, but I don't forgive that easy. So I was like, oh, I love Londo. he's great, fuck Jakar. And then it turned out to be exactly the opposite. And that's why the whatever the fuck they called themselves, the first ones, made fun of me for the first probably 17 episodes. So.
To be fair, it wasn't the only reason we made fun of you.
Oh, yeah, no. Listen, like I said, you count your minutes because it's coming and I'm gonna start talking about it. So it's
okay. You know where my hatchet is still.
No, I didn't. Neither do you. Neither one of us do.
No, we lost that.
20 years
And
ago.
it was a
Let's
good
move
thing
on.
you took it away from me.
By the way, that was closer to 30 years ago. I just want to point that out.
No, it was more like 20.
It was 2004. We're
yeah.
not listening.
Okay.
I've known you for 30 Scott.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
But God
I've
damn.
known Mike and Emily for 25.
There's a reason why Mike doesn't show up anymore.
Or Blake. And there's a reason why I drink. So we're moving on.
That's not true. Blake and Mike will return.
Maybe.
Anyone have anything else for the good of the order before we move into questions, predictions?
I did like the moment that Odo and Quark had where where Odo was kind of like, I don't understand, what your obsession with the material is junk. And then you die and your relatives sell it and start the whole process over again.
Yeah, that kind of hurt.
And
it's not sad at all.
But it's true.
Yes.
Like I don't want anything that my parents are going to give me. Like there's not anything that they possess that I want.
The
Like,
family trauma is enough.
Yeah. Plenty of that. We're okay.
And I'm trying to return that.
You've helped me enough with that. I think we're even at this point.
But like just again seeing their dynamic between the two of them, I really think that their relationship is something that this series is building, and it's very interesting to me to see how they move forward.
Yeah, and to Jesse's point and your point about the character arcs, we've already kind of hit on this a lot, but once the leash gets taken off these guys, we'll see a lot more of it. I still think in season 1, season 2, there is stuff that allows for character building. I think just as you guys have already pointed out, O'Brien has literally nothing to say, but he's in the background, and that builds character. That's something that TNG didn't do at all, in my opinion. So it's already starting, but once they get the leash taken off, I think you guys are going to be in for a fun ride. I do. So let's go over to our newbies and get their questions and predictions, and a reminder that they have not watched past Q-less. So let's see if they have any questions or predictions of what may happen next. And Shannon, questions, predictions?
Well, I was going to ask if we would see Q again, but apparently that was spoiled, even though I didn't even catch that it was spoiled until you mentioned it was spoiled. So
I will say we've gotten a couple comments, not just for Prentice. It's been for Prentice and for me and for Christopher. All of us
that's okay.
Alluding to too much stuff.
Us newbies don't know what you're alluding to because they're basically made up words most of the time of alien races. Like the amount of places that Vash mentioned, like you wouldn't know me on Helios 3 and double, triple axis, double 12, like was cracking me up. So like, yes. Anyways, and I just want to know if Odo did turn into the bottle of wine because that's amazing. And I want to know how tempted he was to have a gold-plated lithium bucket.
He thought about it.
He did. He actually thought about that one.
But see, I actually like the fact that Odo goes out of his way not to tell Quark what he did. He just tells Quark, I know because I was there and I heard it, but I'm not going to tell you how I heard it because I want you to squirm.
I mean, there was literally a line in this episode where somebody said, what was it? Were you a table, a chair, or a bottle of wine? That happened, y'all. I heard it.
It was Quark. Yeah. And Odo wasn't going to give him an answer because he's like, I'm everywhere, bitch.
Okay, so was there a question or a prediction that I missed?
You're being a little too serious.
You are not wrong. And I was playing the Chardonnay. My question was, will we see Vash again? Because apparently not you. And will we ever see the bucket?
I told you, you will. And if you go out and buy the Odo action figure, you can get a little bucket of your own.
Not the action figure, but I don't know. But anyways, no more questions.
I actually just picked one up from a comic book store. It's got the little bucket. I love it. Sorry, Shannon.
Why am I here? That's my other question.
That we can't answer. I'm sorry.
You chose this. Just remember, you picked it.
I did.
As we've all discussed, we don't pay for therapy. We just are.
Fuck no. You can drink wine. I have something to comment about that scene because when Odo's like, you'll never know, it looked like Quark really legitimately thought about him being the chair. Like he was like, were you the table, the chair? And there was like a pause and he's like, was I sitting on you? Like, and then he's like, the bottle of wine. And I'm like, no, dude, it was the chair. Don't be weird. Let's move on.
Don't be weird.
Don't make it weird. I need to go home.
Well, before you go home, give us your questions and predictions.
So I'm regretting my one question. I have no predictions, Emily.
Okay.
I know you're wondering. My only question was I would still like to know what was in the previous employment contract, but now I don't want to know anymore because I feel like I might know and I want to wipe that from my brain. So
They want Quark. Quark definitely likes his Umox. That's all I'm saying.
is Umox only pertaining to the Ferengi, or is that like, are we
or is it code for others?
The Ferengi's lobes are their erogenous zone.
Right.
It's like stroking somebody's.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
or-
Would you please? Can you elaborate? Because I'm not sure that I know 100% what.
He doesn't know either.
It's an audio podcast, Scott. Like
Everyone knows what I'm doing right now.
No, but like here's the thing: is like I didn't know if that was the word. Are we calling that instead of saying
orgasm?
climax? Are we saying umox? Is it only the Ferengi, or does everybody get to umox?
It is.
I think it's a climax that everyone gets if they have it good enough. That's my. That's
Now,
my thought.
everyone, we're officially a Pornhub podcast. So welcome.
Hey,
welcome. We have transitioned.
I will have you know,
Welcome.
our last podcast, I'm very proud of this, got a cease and desist from Pornhub.
Pornhub. Yep.
I got the letter in the mail.
How did that happen? What
I
did you
have
do?
the only Narnhub t-shirt ever made. And they told us we couldn't make those anymore because it was too much like that. I'm like, fuck you guys.
It was
First
the
of all,
Pornhub logo with Narn Hub.
I'll
and-
use my Cricut to fucking make my Narnhub.
Yeah. That was one of the highlights of my life, was getting a cease and desist letter from Pornhub.
Yeah. It was very early too in our
It was.
our podcast. It was like, yeah. Anyway, we got to come up with some Fereng hub, Gee hub.
I'm here for the umox.
Umox for dummies.
What is? I'm done. I've asked my question. Is it a station-wide thing, or is it just the Ferengi? Do they only get to umox? I don't get to umox. You don't get to umox. We call it something else. Is everybody umoxing? What are we doing?
That is a very valid question. And I also want to know, why aren't earring necklaces a thing?
I'm thinking now of Deadpool and Wolverine, where he has got the nipples attached to his crotch and with the chain. If you no
I've
one's
got
watched
nipples
Deadpool and
too,
Wolverine.
fucker. Can you milk me?
This is going into a dark space.
Scott wants to
Excuse
wear
me?
one of those.
Kids, do not listen to our podcast at this point. Sign off.
Jesus.
Sign off.
Well, I know what I'm pulling out for the audio on this one.
See, now,
Pulling
Prentice, you see
out.
why I
She
don't
just
talk
is
about what
pulling
I
out.
do. I don't
was
talk
saying-
about what I actually do because I know somebody's going to hear this and they're going to be like, dude, that's yeah, no, we don't do any of that. Just mind your business and move on.
Yeah, and I love the fact that we were done with this episode in 45 minutes, but then we've just got off the rails for another half an hour. Shannon, you've already gone. Jessi, you've gone. Nicole, questions, predictions.
You know what? I got nothing after all that.
Oh,
You don't want anyone to milk you?
No, I don't want anyone to milk me. I don't want anyone to umock me. Leave my ears alone, you fucking freaks.
What is going on? Okay, so yes, great podcast, everybody. Great,
And this is where Prentice quits.
This is not where I thought we were going to go.
I'm sorry.
Not
At least we
Prentice.
know where the bar is with Prentice. It's fine.
We have gone on multiple side quests at this part of the podcast. This is amazing. Wow. Okay.
Oh, that's all I ever did was side quests. I never did the main, World of Warcraft for the Lost.
What?
Oh, God damn it. Are we done?
Did you really just reference WoW? Because that is the nerdiest fucking shit.
I did.
Speaking of Jessi's side quests, Christopher, what do you have?
Oh,
Questions and predictions.
wow.
Backstory.
Yeah, I'm trying to recover from this.
Don't
I'm
talk,
laughing so
Christopher.
hard.
Scott, me and you,
I'm laughing so hard.
Story
you're
time.
only an hour and a half away, homie. I'll see you in a little bit.
Story time.
The only thing I want to know is this the last time we're going to hear Miles O'Brien say, "I'm Miles O'Brien from the Enterprise"? I've got nothing else.
Nobody heard you, Christopher. Not a single
No, I
fucking
heard him.
person.
Good.
I heard him through my chuckles. I got it.
Through your nipples? I don't know.
Apparently saying I'm O'Brien from the Enterprise. He's something he says a lot.
Dan, don't try to make Christopher feel better about himself.
Hell, I need to start
Are
drinking.
we like, should we come back next week or are we just gonna quit after this one? I'm just
Oh,
Oh no, we're gonna continue to mess with these guys.
It'll get better.
Ladies.
Christopher,
Holy
I'm
shit.
Toby. I'm Wick at the White House.
I'm here for it. All right.
Oh, I forgot that's tomorrow. That's why I'm drinking today.
Oh, I haven't forgotten.
Okay.
Drink only on a specific day.
I'm not even drunk. I don't know what's happening. Like Christopher is to blame for this all.
Why does he have to blame
He's
for
here.
this?
I don't know.
He's here.
He's been rude since he logged in. I'm not sure. Maybe he woke up on the wrong side of the bed today.
Well, we'll go ahead and take these questions and predictions and kick out the newbies and talk about them in the spoilers section. And if you decide to come back next week, which I question your sanity if you do,
Right? Why would you?
we will be watching the episode Dax. So spoilers, not really, but the episode's called Dax.
So Dax is in it. Cool.
You would think. So until next week, please be sure to like, subscribe, follow, leave us a review. And if you are going to leave us an honest review, don't do that. Just lie and say we're okay, please.
5 stars only.
Well, give us an honest review in words, but then do the 5 star, right?
5 stars. I hate you
5
guys.
stars is what's important, but then say whatever you want with the words.
I like this. I like this. And join in our social medias. All the links are down below. And again, thank you to our Patreon producers who are very helpful in supporting the show. And if you want to be a part of our Discord, where you can apparently watch TNG honest trailers, you can join the Patreon as well. So until next week, I have been Scott, and with me has been
Christopher,
Nicole,
Emily,
Shannon,
Jessi.
Prentice.
And if you come back next week,
we're
heaven
sorry.
help.
If you're still here, the key word today in the YouTube chat is Ferengi fingering. You're welcome.
oh my god.
Pornhub, don't sue us, please.
Thank you for listening to Especially the Lies, a Deep Space Nine podcast. You can find all the places to listen to and watch this podcast by searching for Especially the Lies on your podcast app or on YouTube. We want to hear from you, so join the conversation at Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review where you are listening to or watching this podcast. Especially the Lies is not affiliated with, and the podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by Paramount or any other owners of the Star Trek copyright. All clips included in this podcast are the intellectual property of the respected copyright holders. They are included here for purposes of review, and no infringement is intended.
Why have you brought me here? Show yourselves. What do you want?
The Cisco has returned to us.
He arrives with questions.
There are always questions.
Welcome back to Beyond the Wormhole. I'm still questioning that title, but Jessi says I have to use it. And this is our spoiler section. So if you have not watched past Q-less or you don't remember what happens, this is where you need to leave. Come back later after you have went through the entire debauchery. And if you are okay with spoilers, stick around. So guys, let's go through the questions. Emily, you've got a couple of things. Not much.
There's not really anything really worth discussing.
You can discuss Umox for us again.
Oh, jeez. I don't wanna.
You're the one who reads smut, so
I am, but it doesn't involve Ferengis.
Prentice is like, what?
Whoa, backstory. What about reading? Where is that coming from? What are we talking about?
Okay, so what happened is Amazon recommended a book. I didn't read the full description. All I read was dragons and libraries, so I was like, sign me up. And then it turned really smutty, and one thing leads to another.
Then
And
the
now I have
dragon went to
smut
the
series.
library.
Yeah, Dark Olympus is really good. It's a retelling of Greek mythology, and whoo boy, does it get smutty.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Good story though, like really good storytelling and character development. But yeah.
Did you set the mood a little bit when you read it? No.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's actually just really good stories. I have learned a valuable lesson, and don't listen to the audiobook for some of them because you don't know when it's going to get smutty, and sometimes it happens while you're in the bread aisle at Walmart trying to buy groceries, and then you're just glad you have earbuds in so no one else is hearing what you're hearing.
That's actually Audible commercials now, is they will be walking through the grocery store and listening to some smutty audiobook, and that is a legitimate commercial.
Yeah. I mean, what else you can do? Listen to the people in Walmart? No, thank you.
I'm sorry for your distraction. You were saying something profound next, I believe, about the episode. Let's get into it. There you go.
We got nothing profound.
Oh, yeah, nothing profound? Okay, got it.
But Shannon would like to know if we will see Vash again, and thankfully we will not because I do not like her.
Yeah, and this is the last Vash sighting ever. She's not in TNG anymore either. There was some discussion. Ira Stephen Bear wanted to bring her back because he liked the character, but they couldn't really fit her in anywhere. And then, of course, when we get into the Dominion War, there's a lot less space for side quests.
Yeah, I just feel like she doesn't fit in well unless they were gonna like put her with Quark somehow, but I prefer the Quark Odo dynamic than if they had tried to find him a lady friend.
But his ex-wife shows up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
I did enjoy that. I found that to be a very interesting combination.
It would have been a great one, yeah.
Yeah, there weren't very many questions, and I'm surprised no one asked about the creature that the orb hatched from.
That was actually not the end of the story when Robert Hewitt-Wolf took over the rewrite. He said that was about midway or 2/3 of the way through the story. And yeah, I mean, I think, as he said, that's the crux of the story. But really, for me, I think this is just a generic Trek story and not that strong a one anyway.
Yeah, it feels like filler, and it does feel like they're trying to create some connection but to TNG, which makes sense. I mean, it would be weird to start it without at least something here and there periodically.
I agree. Listen, I mean, this is when they had, what was this, a 24 episode season at this point?
Yeah, this one was actually 21 because it started in January.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be a 26 season aside from this.
Okay. Wait a minute, didn't they cut it down when TNG, they had the writer's strike and they got it down to, what was it, 27 at one point? Did they cut it down 2 episodes? Was it 28 per season back in those days?
I always remember 26, but I don't know for sure.
Nonetheless, just like you all were saying, it's a filler episode. You see they're trying to just get things out there and also keep the TNG audience on the train by putting in all these familiar characters. I agree with you, Scott. This to me was a mid-tier episode. I wasn't necessarily thrilled about it. The only thing that really made me smile is what we talked about earlier, is the relationship between Vash and Quark. Now, if they would have been able to work that in the future with Quark and Vash, I think that would have been interesting. Because she was the perfect Ferengi woman in many ways, except that, she kept it, right? But she was greedy. She was a capitalist to the max. So I thought she was a good play on Quark. I thought he met his match in that episode.
Yeah, I agree. I never have a problem with Vash. I don't think she stands out as a major character, but I don't have any issues with her. I do have an issue with the cue that we got in this episode, but we've already discussed that. A couple of things that I like about this episode, and they were not planned at all because there's no way they were planned, but I do like that we get another hint that Julian is an augment. We don't know that yet, and the writers don't even know that yet, but we find out later he purposely failed that test or didn't get the one question right because he didn't want to draw attention to himself as being valedictorian. So he got that one question wrong so he would get second place. And he's doing it as just a conversation about how he's a goof, but really he did that because he's trying not to draw attention to himself. So I like how that, even though it was never planned that way, the writers didn't know that at that point. I like how you can tie that one back in. On the flip side, what you can't tie back in, again, because it didn't exist yet, but it's weird that she doesn't bring it up, is the Dominion. She was in the Gamma Quadrant for 2 years, and there's no discussion about the Dominion. But of course, that's because the Dominion didn't exist yet. The writers didn't know that they were going to do that. But as much as I love the tying back of Julian in his past, it is kind of weird that we get these Gamma Quadrant conversations here in season 1, and we don't hear anything about anything in the Gamma Quadrant, which is going to be such a big, impactful part of the later part of the series.
So,
Sorry, I was going to say, let me ask this question. Is this the worst Q outing? I'm trying to think between this and Voyager. Is this one of the episodes for Q?
Perfectly honest, I never got UPN when I was a kid, and I have never done a full rewatch of Voyager because it never impressed me, so I haven't watched the Q Voyager episodes.
I think this is probably the worst Q episode. From what I've watched Voyager through a few times because I hate myself or something. And even those Q episodes don't grate on me like this one does.
Are you sure? What about the one he's trying to have a baby with Captain Janeway?
That one's like weird, but I don't know. That one just didn't rub me the wrong way. And it might be because I don't care about Voyager that much. So it's not like he's intruding upon my series, if that makes sense. It's like, yeah, it's Voyager. I don't really give a shit what happens one way or another. So Q can do whatever he wants, but you come on to Deep Space Nine and I'm gonna have big feelings.
Understood.
But I will say, I'm glad that Q continued on after this, because we got, again, the week after this episode aired, we got Tapestry. And I don't know if both of you have watched Picard season 2 or not, so I won't go into spoilers on it. And for folks listening, they may not have. Season 2 is not that good, but the Q stuff I really enjoy.
So good.
Especially the last episode, which is Q and Picard centric. I think that is quintessential Q, and I really do like that.
It made me feel things, and I don't like to feel things, but I felt the things.
When he has the one line, again, I won't say it here, but anyone who's watched Picard season 2 knows what I'm talking about. When Picard talks to Q and Q responds to him and says why he's been doing this, that is Star Trek. That is humanistic Star Trek at a whole. And I think, unfortunately, the rest of the season was shit, but that episode was good.
So far, they really don't like Bashir, and I get it. At what point do we think they might come around to find him less grating or just irritatingly naive?
Season 4.
Yeah, I think our man Bashir, and when we start getting to know him more. But I will say another thing that this episode does, and we don't recognize that it does it yet, is it starts building that dynamic of Bashir and O'Brien, which I think is the best shipping of any shipping in Star Trek. I love the Bashir and O'Brien storyline, and honestly, one of the things that tears up the most when I'm watching What You Leave Behind, the final episode of the series, is when Bashir and O'Brien say goodbye. It hits hard because they're very, very close, and they're not close right now. But some of those episodes where Bashir and O'Brien do start to build that kind of rivalry / friendship are interesting episodes too. I don't know if they're good enough to get them to like Bashir, but I would agree with Prentice. Once Bashir gets to have his own storylines, I think it becomes something that he's an enjoyable character. He's not always horny.
Yeah, he does have that one horny episode in season 2.
Just one?
Well, the one specific interaction with his patient.
Oh, yeah.
Melora.
Well, then he's got the 2 with the augments that come to town.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, which I have feelings about those episodes, but we'll get to it when we get to it.
Yeah, but it's gonna be kind of rough for them if they're gonna have to wait until about season 4 to not be that annoyed by Bashir.
I had no problem with Bashir, but I get it. I can see where right now he's kind of aloof, but I think Alexander Siddig is a great actor, and I think he plays it well, even if he's not getting much to play with right now.
Agree.
Anything else you guys got for the good of the order?
I don't know.
Was this the first episode where we saw the thrusters being used, or was that in the Emissary episode we saw the station thrusters?
Yeah, it was Emissary because they moved it to the wormhole. Yeah. And in fact, I actually felt that they didn't show it that much in this episode. I was like, oh, budget cuts. We don't get much here. Because even the shuttle is not really a shuttle. It's just a door. I was like, ooh, they spent too much money on Emissary and now they got to make up for it.
That's right.
Well, we'll go ahead and leave it there. For those of you who will come back next week, again, I don't know why, but when you do, we're going to be watching Dax. And we've gotten some questions online about watch order, because apparently Netflix is using the production order and Paramount Plus is using the actual release order. We are following the release order. So when an episode was released, that's when we watch it. So if you want the correct order, Paramount Plus is the way to go right now on streaming. But if you're watching on Netflix, we call out the episode every week, so you should be able to keep up. And until next week, I've been Scott. Scott, and with me has been
Emily.
Prentice.
Click all the buttons, join us on social media, and thanks. And enjoy your umoxing.
Wow, on a Sunday.
Gross.
Good night, everybody.
Well, on that note,
get a little Sunday night umox. It'd be great.
Oh my god.
There's always good for Mox. Hey, what can you say?
Oh, yeah, that comes back in a few episodes. They're gonna have so much fun with that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, folks.
All right. See you next week.
Good night.
Adios.
Good night.
Bye.
You hit me. Picard never hit me. I'm not Picard.